Da 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 da. Welcome back to Disenfranchised, the podcast where we reveal disenfranchised grief in every episode of Friends. I'm Karen Bulinski Mathison, founder of The Naked Grief and creator of the Disenfranchised podcast. So grab your coffee or a different kind of drink and let's dive into season 2, episode 11, the one with the lesbian wedding. Now, usually when people talk about this episode, they focus on the first lesbian wedding on TV, the controversy, the smelling the fart acting. But here at Disenfranchised, we're looking at the raw, the messy, and the I've seen everything layers of grief that are hiding right behind the wedding cake. So in this episode, the gang is basically a walking support group. We've got Carol and Susan getting married, which sounds celebratory, right? But for Ross, it's a minefield of what ifs. Carol's parents refuse to attend, leaving Carol on the verge of calling the whole thing off. Meanwhile, Rachel gets a visit from her mother, Sandra Green, who drops a bombshell. She's getting divorced from Rachel's dad. Rachel, who thought she was the only one allowed to blow up her own life for independence, is suddenly hit with the reality that her foundation is truly crumbling. And then there's Phoebe. In true Phoebe fashion, her grief is literal. A client, Mrs. Alderman, dies on her massage table, and Phoebe is convinced the woman's spirit has taken up residence in her body because she has unfinished business. While it's played for laughs, Phoebe is shouting, "No, I've seen everything," at the wedding. It's a fascinating look at how we carry the weight of those who leave us before we're ready. So let's call a spade a spade. The episode is a buffet of disenfranchised grief. Ross, the funeral of a dream. Ross is experiencing a non-death loss. When your ex gets remarried, especially to the person that they left you for, you aren't just losing a partner. You are attending the funeral of the life that you thought you were going to have. Ross isn't just uncomfortable, he's mourning the version of himself that was supposed to be the husband to Carol, the father of Ben, living in the same house. And society tells him to move on because it's been over a year. But grief doesn't have a stopwatch. It's the grief of what could have been, and it's just as heavy as a death. Sometimes harder because of the fact that they share custody. It's not that he can just acknowledge that she's moved on and never see her again. They are bound for life because of what they share together. And then we've got Rachel, who's experiencing something a little similar, but as an adult. She's an adult child of divorce. It's the ACOD grief. Rachel's reaction to her parents' divorce is often dismissed as classic Rachel being dramatic, but this is adult child of divorce grief. When your parents split when you're 30, it recontextualizes your entire childhood. You start wondering, was any of it real? Was the house I grew up in a lie? It's a loss of heritage and a loss of the safe harbor that you thought would always be there. And then we've got Carol, who might not be a major character in this show, but in this episode, she is stigmatized by the unrecognized grief that she has because her parents aren't coming to the wedding. And she's grieving the loss of that approval. Because of the fact this is supposed to be a happy occasion, I mean, it's a wedding, people expect her to be 100% joyful. But she's mourning the relationship with her mother and her father who chose their prejudices over their own kid. And this is a profound, lonely grief that often goes unrecognized because people focus on the celebration instead of the severance. Carol choosing to say I do to Susan means that she is letting go of a relationship with her parents. That's hard. You're choosing one love over another instead of being able to have everything. You need support for that. And then we've got the power of stepping up. The most powerful moment of support in this episode doesn't come from a Hallmark card or Monica's catering the wedding. It comes from Ross himself. And Ross has every reason to be bitter. He wasn't even planning to go to the wedding. He has every reason to stay caught in the chair. And because he does get his finger caught in the opening scene, which is a perfect metaphor for being stuck in the past. But when Carol is ready to cancel the wedding because her parents won't show up and her dad won't be there to give her away, Ross does something incredible. He holds space for her. And he tells her if George and Adelaide can't accept that, then the hell with them. He validates her love for Susan, even though that same love is what broke his heart. But Ross's big move is coming from the role of victim to grace giver. By giving Carol away at the altar, he isn't just performing a wedding tradition, he's performing a ritual of release. He's saying, I'm no longer the keeper of your past, I'm a witness to your future. And that's how you support someone in grief. You put your own stuff aside to stand in the gap for them. If Ross had stayed in his victim role, he would have skipped the wedding. He'd have stayed home with a bucket of fried chicken and stewed in his resentment. And honestly, most people would have understood that. But here's the coaching moment. The power of holding space for someone else is actually a gift to yourself. Because when we hold space for someone who has hurt us, we stop being defined by the hurt. We reclaim our agency. If you're struggling with someone else's happy ending, that feels like your own sad beginning, try these reframes. Acknowledge the funeral. It's okay to admit that seeing them move on feels like a death. Give that feeling a name. I am mourning my old identity. Separate the action from the person. Carol's parents' rejection wasn't about Carol, it was about their own limitations. Don't let someone else's inability to see you become your internal mirror. Choose grace over justice. Ross didn't get justice for being cheated on, but he chose grace. Justice keeps you tied to the person who wronged you. Grace sets you free. The real life relatability in this. When foundations shake. I've talked to so many adults who feel guilty for being devastated by their own divorce or their parents splitting up or watching their own kids be conflicted because their own relationship ended. Not the kids, them as the adult. And they say, I'm 35, I have my own kids. Why am I crying in the shower because my dad moved into a condo? Or why am I crying because my son is upset because the man I just dated for a month and I broke up? There's layers, folks. It's because your parents are your primary anchors, and when the anchor drags, the whole boat feels unstable. Rachel's mother telling her she married her own Barry is a terrifying revelation. It tells Rachel that her mother spent decades in a fake life. And if you're an adult child of divorce, your grief is valid. You're losing the center of your family map. Holiday traditions are dead. The family home is a memory. And you can't let yourself be caught in the get over it because you're in an adult spiral. You're not just losing the marriage, you're losing the history. But again, it also goes into if you're the one getting the divorce, think of how even your non-adult kids may feel. Or if you've already been there, done that, and that transition's been positive for you, when those relationships falter afterwards, the attachments happen. Maybe your child got attached to the person that was in your life for those couple of weeks. And when that ended, that caused them to relive the breakup between you and your spouse. Things hit different. Rachel's also hitting this different because mom said I married my Barry. And that struck a chord with Rachel. It threw her to her knees, really, because it resonated. She got it. And then she was triggered to remember all the reasons she left Barry, the reasons she didn't stay. And even though those were her reasons, she put what was hers on the reasons why her mom was leaving her dad. Every relationship's different. And she needed to take a step back. But that trigger of, I married my Barry. Wow. Just saying. So join us next time when we delve deeper into season 2, the one after the Super Bowl. This is actually a 2-parter. I'm not sure. I probably will roll the 2 together just because it's hard to leave a cliffhanger on a podcast. So join us next time. I'll see you there. Thanks for showing up today. Also, for anybody that just needs a safe place to land, please know that grief comes from all aspects. It's not always death. It's job loss, career pivots, divorce, breakups, empty nests, moving, identity shifts, friendships ending, the loss of life that you thought you'd have. And at the Naked Grief, we offer support communities that meet you where you are without pressure, toxic positivity, or having to explain why it hurts. What you'll find here is a private, judgment-free space to process what's changed. Practical tools, prompts, and guidance that you can use right away. Multiple styles of support so you can choose what fits and switch if you need to. A path to find your footing, one small step at a time. If you're not ready for therapy or coaching yet, but you know you need something, you're in the right place. Learn more at thenakedgrief.com. Until next week. Da 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 da.